Imagine owning a 100 megawatt solar farm. From a distance, it looks incredibly simple. Thousands of solar panels, sunlight coming down, electricity going out, and money coming in. But behind those panels is a business that can cost more than $150 million to build. So how does a solar farm actually make money? Let's imagine a fictional project called Sun Valley Solar. This 100 megawatt farm covers hundreds of acres and contains thousands of solar panels. But 100 megawatts doesn't mean it produces 100 megawatts every hour. Solar power changes with sunlight, weather, seasons, and nighttime. If we assume a 28% capacity factor, the farm could generate roughly 245,000 megawatt hours of electricity every year. Now comes the expensive part, building the project. Let's assume the total cost is about $156 million. That money doesn't just pay for solar panels. It also covers mounting structures, tracking systems, inverters, transformers, electrical cables, roads, fencing, engineering, construction, permits, and connecting the project to the power grid. And land isn't as simple as finding the cheapest empty field. A cheap piece of land can actually be a terrible investment if it's far from transmission lines. The developer needs land with good sunlight, suitable terrain, acceptable environmental conditions, and access to the electrical grid. Ideally, you want all of these things in the same location. Once the solar farm is built, the biggest question becomes, who will buy the electricity? The panels don't automatically generate profit. Electricity needs a buyer. A solar farm might sign a long-term power purchase agreement with a utility or large company. This gives the project more predictable revenue. Other projects can sell electricity directly into wholesale markets, where prices can change constantly. Let's use three simple electricity price scenarios. If the farm produces about 245,000 megawatt hours per year, and electricity sells for $40 per megawatt hour, the project generates roughly $9.8 million in annual revenue. At $50 per megawatt hour, revenue rises to about $12.3 million, and at $60, it reaches roughly $14.7 million. But here's the important part. Revenue is not profit. The solar farm still has operating expenses. Suppose operations and maintenance cost around $2.2 million per year. At a $50 electricity price, the project would have roughly $10 million left after that expense, before debt payments, taxes, and other costs. And most large solar farms aren't built entirely with the owner's cash. The project can use a combination of debt and equity. For example, if 70% is financed with debt and 30% with equity, the $156 million project would have around $109 million of debt and $47 million of equity. The advantage is that investors don't need to provide the entire project cost themselves, but the debt still has to be repaid, with interest, whether electricity prices are high or low. This creates leverage. If the project performs better than expected, equity investors can potentially earn strong returns on their smaller investment. But if revenue falls, debt payments don't simply disappear. That means leverage can increase both returns and risk. And solar farms have plenty of other risks. Panels slowly lose production over time. Inverters can fail. Panels need cleaning. Vegetation needs to be controlled. Equipment may need replacement. Insurance costs money. Extreme weather can damage equipment. And grid congestion can force the farm to reduce its electricity production, even when the sun is shining. Electricity prices are another major risk. Imagine the same solar farm operating in two different markets. In one market, electricity is worth $60 per megawatt hour. In another, it's only $40. The panels are identical, the land is identical, and the investment may be similar, but the revenue can be dramatically different. Battery storage can help solve part of this problem. Instead of selling all the electricity immediately during sunny hours, the project can store some energy and potentially sell it later when electricity prices are higher. But batteries require additional investment and also have efficiency losses and their own degradation. This is why simply saying the project costs $156 million and makes $10 million a year, so it pays itself back in about 16 years, isn't enough. Real investors have to consider interest rates, taxes, equipment replacement, degradation, electricity prices, grid restrictions, maintenance, and the value of money over time. So, is owning a solar farm profitable? It can be. But the real business isn't simply buying solar panels and collecting free money from the sun. It's about choosing the right location, securing affordable financing, getting reliable grid access, finding a strong electricity buyer, controlling operating costs, and keeping the project productive for decades. The sunlight may be free, but everything required to capture and sell that sunlight costs money. Land costs money, panels cost money, transmission costs money, financing costs money, maintenance costs money, and even the electricity market can work against you. A successful solar farm is essentially a giant long-term cash flow machine. Millions of dollars go in, sunlight becomes electricity, electricity becomes revenue, expenses are paid, debt is serviced, and whatever remains becomes cash flow for the investors. And that's the real economics of owning a 100 megawatt solar farm. The sunlight is free, but the land, panels, construction, financing, grid connection, maintenance, insurance, and everything else around it can cost millions. In the end, what really matters isn't how much electricity the farm produces. It's how much cash flow is left after all the costs and risks are paid. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the economics of massive businesses and infrastructure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.